everyone, and welcome once again to the one, the only, the Fan Show. I'm your host, as always, the T-Man, Richard T-Man, and the man in the other box. Well, you know him because every neighborhood has one. There's that guy that sits out on the front lawn in the kiddie pool with his legs hanging over the edge, and he's got like a Mike's Hard with an umbrella in it, sunglasses, just living his best life in the summertime. It is Father Malcolm McCoy. Welcome, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Sometimes, by the way, you might catch me out there, no clothes at all. So I mean, keep it, keep the kids inside, you know. But nah, I'm great, man. I'm great. How about you?
Doing pretty good. We drove past a Walmart that had all those kiddie pools outside, and we live
Yeah.
in an area very much where there is one per neighborhood of the guys that will just sit out there, fill up the
hmm
kiddie pool, and they just sit waist deep, on the ground, and they just got the legs over, and they're just like living their best summer life. It's like, wow,
Hey,
okay.
it's definitely the weather for it. You got the weather for it. Over here, it's been like in the 90s. So I mean, I don't blame anybody for doing it on this side for sure.
Yeah, and of course we'll have another great lower third for Malcolm. I think the shake weight one was fantastic. If you guys saw our Instagram today, we're seeing which one has been your favorite so far, and I'm
Hey
wondering how many
man.
of those he gets DMs about.
I definitely got a DM about the shake weight too. Before I even got a chance to take a look at the post, somebody was like, "You use a shake weight?" I said, "Don't believe anything Rich says. It's all
Oh,
BS."
too good, too
Right.
good. Well, this is episode 491. We're over the 490 mark, which means nine
hmm
more until we hit 500 of these things. And then
Man.
2025 is the 10th anniversary of the fan show as far as when it started. I mean, you can subtract the years of not a whole lot of content, if any, but still, it started 2015 and next year will be 10 years later. So we've got some stuff to think about as far as the couple of big milestones there. But right now,
hmm
it's all about another week of indoor football action. And Mal, I'm just going to say this before we get to our good, bad, and funny in the recap. We had Ernesto, who's a kicker, on last week. And this
Yeah.
week was without a doubt the best or worst week for a kicker, depending on what team you were on. So we
hmm
will go over that because, yeah, it was one of the crazier weeks of IFL action. But as we do most episodes, when we're not coming back from a COVID break or vacation, we do our good, bad, and funny. For me, my good is Kai Stewart. Kai Heftybag Stewart, known as the Outcast in bare knuckle fighting. He's a local
hmm
boy here in Great Falls, Montana, CMR grad. He celebrated 1 year as their featherweight champion just the other day. So, congratulations to him. He has had two title defenses since then, won them both. And his third one is coming up later this month, and we'll hopefully have him on for a fan show special that we've done before. Check in with Kai Stewart. So that's the good. Good for him.
hmm
In the world of combat sports and mixed martial arts, it can be pretty tough to stay on top of your respective mountains. So props to him for holding it down in that weight division for a full year. That's just crazy, especially bare knuckle. That's insane, man. Like you and I, we watch UFC, but bare knuckle, like, wow.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say you gotta be kind of crazy to have some screws loose to fight in UFC, but bare knuckle, I mean, shit, you borderline just don't care about life at that point, you know.
Yeah, so I was there at that event, actually, my first bare knuckle event when he won it. They didn't have a champion at the time, so he is the first and has been the only since then. So good
Mm.
for him. That's my good. My bad, though, just the opposite. My buddy, you know him as Javier Bernal in NXT, actually just broke his foot during the
Uh,
last episode of NXT. It did require surgery, so he will be out for a period of time. And NXT is one of those places where it's all about momentum. It's all about working on your craft and your skills. And if you can't be in the ring, it's one of those uncertain times. And so I know he's a little bit nervous about that, but we want to wish him a speedy recovery. And then the funny, Dude, I don't even know like the details to this thing. It's just funny to me. Darren Waller, he's gonna retire, but music videos and I guess close calls with like panic attacks or something. And
Mm.
I don't know a guy who's gotten more just weird and random press than Darren Waller has. Like, have you been keeping up with this? Like, what's your takeaway from the whole Darren Waller situation?
See, I've been keeping up with it to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that he was like pursuing music and something like that. It's always hilarious to me seeing like, not to say that you can't have hobbies outside of your profession,
Yeah.
but it seems like there are an abundance and no shortage of athletes that seem to think they can rap. You got Dame Lillard, you had what's it called Antonio Brown. Uh, what's the guy? Le'Veon Bell had a little stint and everything. Some of the guys were good. Don't get me wrong. I haven't heard any of Darren Waller's music, but I mean, I don't know. It's I'm happy for him that he was able to walk away from the sport with and on his own terms. But I mean, I'm kind of excited and curious to see what's next. I'm assuming he's looking to try to pursue the music full time or whatever the case. But man, it's gonna be funny, whatever the case.
All right, so that's my good, bad, and funny. Malcolm, what do you got from the three worlds of our weekend apart?
Mm. See, I'm about to definitely be the bearer of bad news here. I don't have a funny necessarily. I have a bad, then I have a bad that kind of transitions into a good. You'll
Okay,
see what I mean when I
okay. I'm
say.
curious now.
But
Yes.
yeah. So with the bad, it's funny you mentioned combat sports. We all know the lightweight sensation Ryan Garcia.
Hmm.
He had a little bout. I'm not even sure what exactly happened, but he was in Beverly Hills, I think this past weekend at the Waldorf Astoria, a beautiful hotel if you've heard of it. He was arrested for vandalizing. They said over $1,500 worth of damages. I'm sorry, 15,000 worth of damages. And it was like I don't know if he was like under the influence of like drugs or he was drinking at all, but all the same, you can't have that. It's already bad enough. It just being a hotel like that and breaking their furniture, whatever the case is. But being a high profile athlete too, it's just you're digging yourself in the hole at that point. I'm not sure what exactly went on. I'm going to read on it a bit more, but as of now, he's in police custody, and I don't know what exactly are going to be his repercussions, but it's not looking too good.
Okay.
Um, for the second bad into good, B.J. Thompson, the he plays D line for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hmm.
He had I want to say this past Thursday he had a seizure in a special teams meeting while they were in their OTAs and ended up going to cardiac arrest. I'm not sure what his health situation is, but he's only 25 years old. So it just kind of makes you look at stuff like that like, it's kind of crazy. But they did say about 3 days ago he woke up and is, lucid and conscious, talking and everything. He's getting back up to health. But it kind of reminds me of a few episodes back. I mentioned Nate Robinson and his kidney situation. As athletes, we kind of are looked at as these like invincible mountains of people who can't get touched or can't get hurt or anything like that. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Being an athlete and exerting yourself as much as we do, we're actually more at risk to health issues and off the field complications than most people. So definitely want to use that as a reminder to athletes all over the like whatever your sport is, but just take care of yourself, man. You definitely got to take the time and get the treatment, take some time off, relax, meditate, whatever the case is, but just take care of your bodies because I mean if you don't do it then no one else will. So
Been all right. So that is our good, bad, and funny presented by F3 Energy. This one is Orange Mood. Let's Oh, it's like a creamsicle. Okay.
Oh
F3
man.
energy. Fuck yeah, let's go. All right, we're moving on.
I love how that's like the indirect slogan. I'll take it.
Also, shout out and congrats, Ernesto. I know that Duke City lost, but not without him achieving a milestone in his career. He is now the record holder for drop kicks in a single season for the IFL. So, props to him for
Uh,
that. I'm sure he would have rather had
that
the
beast.
win and held off on achieving that maybe another week. But
Mm.
still, though, when you're in year 13, I mean, I think you're just doing side quests at that point.
Nah,
You
for real.
know?
For real.
Before we get into our recap, I just realized, that we're in the home stretch of the season. Should Malcolm and I go to the championship game? I don't mean like buy tickets. I mean like credentials and do like a pregame thing, like the whole shebang at the championship in Vegas. I know that we'd have to keep Malk on like a really short, tight leash in Vegas between like the gambling and the Mike's hard flowing. It's just and the girls. Can't forget about the girls. But I don't know. I was thinking about it the other day. Like, is that something that we should look into trying to do to cap off our first time being host and co-host of the fan show in its ninth year? So I figured I'd bring that up and run it by you and see what your thoughts were.
I love it, man. I love it. Like you said, I had to draw the line at three mics hard because by then, I don't even know who I am at that point. But no, I like it. I mean, it sounds super fun. I wanted to go to the championship game last season, but some things came up. I told myself already that I kind of plan on going out there, and I wouldn't definitely want to, I wouldn't want to be out there for any other reason except, the fan show, of course. So, I mean, it'll be super fun. It'll definitely be fun. Let's look into it, man. Let's make it happen.
All right, we'll look into it. There could also be some big announcements for the fan show that might have been in the works about that time that need to be announced as well. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. We'll figure it out. We'll see if we can get credentialed for it and bring the fan show to the championship game, which should be a good one. And that is the perfect segue into week 13, which I'm dubbing the week that kickers need love a lot right now. Not just two, but a lot. Because for week 13, 5 of 7 games came down to kicking in some way, shape, or form. Six
Mhm.
of seven were decided by one score. So basically, you look around and you see that there was Sioux Falls, which was good off the crossbar, which sent them to overtime, and then Sioux Falls ultimately won that game. San
Mhm.
Diego, their kicker missed to win the game. And then Green Bay, they kicked to win the game against against Mass. And then DC, they missed to win the game. Sorry, Ernesto. And then
Mhm.
Frisco missed to tie the game. So, I mean, it was either the best day or the worst day, depending on which team you were on if you were a kicker this last week, which is just
Mhm.
crazy to me to think about how much it came down to like getting or not getting those few points, just that aspect of the game. So, Bay Area, let's go ahead and get the obvious out of the way. They are the defending champs, and for good reason. They just smacked down the Tucson Sugar Skulls. They improved to 9-1. Tucson drops to 2-8. Final score 51-12. So the Panthers are the undisputed team to beat right now. There was some questions when, obviously Green Bay's on a like 5 game winning streak. We're going to talk about that. But when Vegas was the lone remaining undefeated team, oh, could they be the ones? And until further notice, no. Bay
Mhm.
Area is just that team right now.
Mhm.
Arizona takes down San Diego. 47-46 was your final. Arizona improves to 7-4. SD drops to 6-5. Snead and Davis both threw 3 interceptions. So this was a game that was heavy on defense. And yeah, came down to getting those points. SD's kicker missed one earlier, wide to the left. And then this one to win it was wide to the right. And they did him so dirty on that broadcast, Malk. Like, oh man, when he kicked, and missed. He just kind of
Oh.
stands there, and the camera's just like almost slow zooming in on him, and he's just looking with disbelief. And then they cut to the Rattlers going down their bench, high fiving each other. They cut back to the kicker, who's still just like in disbelief, like, how did I miss that? And they
Oh
go
man.
back to the Rattlers and cut back to the kicker one more time, and it's just like, okay, I think we can like move on. The guy realizes like I missed that kick, like that was bad, but oh, they did him so dirty on that broadcast.
That shit is hilarious. I swear they must have some kind of personal vendetta against certain kickers, man. Because I've seen it before, like where they
Yeah.
kind of just the camera work is just so precise. It's not like you got to think that they got something against these guys, man. But it's funny, I didn't even notice
Yeah, it
it.
was pretty bad. So that was one that okay. So Arizona, they're 7-4. Snead is back, but I'm still not sold on him. Like we thought that this week
Yeah.
was going to clear up a few things as far as the postseason race, and it just made things even more complicated because Bay Area they won, but their position or their postseason fate has not been in question. I think
Yeah.
ever this season, but
Mm.
Arizona's and San Diego's were like, this is going to be the game that kind of starts things as far as, okay, what are we looking at? And for
Hmm.
it to come down to not one, but two missed field goals for Arizona to go get out of there with a win, you cannot convince me yet that this is a team that is going to be in the postseason or be a threat in the postseason. Like they're still not that Rattlers team that we're used to seeing, where it's like you are scared of them. I just
Yeah.
think that they got really lucky this time. So that was that game. Green Bay, dude, I love that they keep winning. They're 9-2. They defeat
Mm-hmm.
Mass, so in their revenge game, they get the win back. 36-33 is your final. Mass drops to 6-5. Now, Mass
Mm.
didn't have Benefield, but Green Bay, I think, proved more in this win than Mass did by losing with a backup because Green Bay, backup or not, this is a game that you need to kind of get back to be like, we're a different team than we were week one, and we can hang with the big dogs. And Mass, I think, really needed to get it just to prove that they have depth, especially at the quarterback position, because they've won without Benefield before. And
Mm.
this time they didn't. And again, it's a team with now a winning record. So what does that say about the Pirates at this point in the season? So that's something to keep an eye on.
That's for
Then
sure.
Quad City and Frisco. This game was one of the more wild games of the week because Frisco had no business losing this game. Final
None at
score
all.
52-49. Quad City is 5-5. They're back to 500. Fighters, though, they are 8-3 now, which is crazy to think about. But the Fighters, you watch this game and everything changed from the second quarter going into the third. So halftime, Quad City takes a 7-point lead to go into the half, and then they get the kickoff. And then on that kickoff, Harrington runs it all the way back for a touchdown. But then
Mm.
Fighters, they go and they throw a long touchdown to answer right away. But it was as if getting back to back scores and getting the lead and making Frisco chase was all Quad City needed, which I've never seen that between Frisco and a team with a losing record where you're
Mm.
now chasing your opponent and you're chasing points. But they had chances, but Quad City never let them get a score without getting one in return. And so they just outlasted them. Jax apparently has Tulsa's number. 45-42 is your
Yeah.
final. One of the games that was one score, but not because of the kicker. It was a walk-off touchdown that Jax got, which you don't see that every day. So good for
Mm.
Jax. They're 2-8. Tulsa falls to 3-8. It's just I don't know what's going on with the Oilers right now. And then San Antonio 46, DC 45. Very close game, according to Sam Castronova, way closer than they would have wanted. He's got a
Mm.
hurt shoulder, I think, right now, so he's not running a whole lot, but he still throws like a man possessed. I mean, you and I have talked about it, Malcolm. This guy can just, I don't know, he's like borderline superhuman at the quarterback position. 26 to 33 for 233 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no
Mm.
interceptions. Like, I want to see this guy on a really bad day. So I guess speedy recovery to Sam. It doesn't look like he's that freaking hurt. But Gladiators, unfortunately, only have the one win so far this season. They'll have to wait to get their second one. But the
Mm,
Gunslingers improved to 5-5, and I said last week that the first three games, if they can win them, I think they're in a really good spot to get that fourth seed. So they got one down, two to go. We're going to keep an eye on Arizona and see what San Diego does. And that brings us to our last game of the week, another wild one, because looking at this game and the Quad City Frisco game, I told Malcolm, I said, this one could be interesting. And it was
mm,
way more than just interesting, it was entertaining. Sioux Falls 46, Vegas 40 in overtime. So Sioux
okay.
Falls improves to 3-7. Vegas drops to 7-3. They are now on a 3-game losing streak. So that is
Ooh,
something that could complicate things in the West a lot.
mm,
Like I said, just when you think you have it figured out, then a team like that goes and drops three at this stretch of the season. You can't be doing that. But Claude Davis, dude, he is that man for Sioux Falls. He didn't get the game sealing interception in overtime. That was EJ Reed, who I think that's like his second or third of the season, getting game
mm,
winning picks, which is just cool. Their kicker, though, makes a ridiculous field goal, bounces off the crossbar and in to send them to overtime. But Claude had a strip fumble, scoop and score, and then he had a big time sack late in the game. He
mm.
was just all over the place, man. Like Claude
Yeah,
has no
yeah.
quit in him. Like I don't think he cares what their record is every year. So those are the scores.
Mm.
What were your big takeaways from some of the games, Malk?
Well, first off, I gotta touch on the San Antonio and Duke City game. Like you said, huge kudos to Sam. You know, still playing at such a high level with the hurt shoulder. I can't say I'm surprised because that's just what he does. But I can't really take anything away from Duke City at this point either because one thing we also mentioned last week is that they're not in position to make any noise in the postseason, but they still are very capable of ruining some teams' postseason hopes, and they're still very poised to do that. You know, I mean, they it was a much closer game than I certainly thought it would be. So I mean, I think in this last home stretch, whoever has them next and the week after that, you know, they definitely have to watch out because the Gunslingers are not an easy team to beat. And you know, they nearly did it, even with having this just not being on paper a team that should have been able to do so. Um I also gotta speak on Frisco, man. I mean, it's I'm not sure when just watching that game, like you said, they were always trailing, and it kind of makes me think that teams that aren't used to being in that spot, you know, they it makes them very uncomfortable. And I mean, I can't. That's the consummate game that kind of shows that. You know, first you would think that them being such a good team and having such talented players that wouldn't be a problem for them, but it does something to a team, you know, just it puts some unusual pressure on them, pressure that they're not used to feeling being a team that's normally up 2 and 3 scores. So it was interesting for sure to watch. Jackson Tulsa, man. That I think they're starting that they're building what's gonna probably be a rivalry for years to come, man. Because it's just funny, man. I said I called them winning in our picks just kind of on a limb. I didn't really expect much from them, but just watching the game, I mean, I couldn't help but laugh, man. Because I mean, I know Tulsa's doing their thing, man. They like I always said, they got some great talent over there. But Jacksonville, I can say the same thing for them, man. They got some talented players. They got great coaches. I mean, they're having fun, man. I mean, despite their record, when you watch their games, they're lifting each other up. They're hyped. They're running around just like chickens with their heads cut off, man. They don't seem to care about the postseason necessarily. They know their fate is kind of sealed, but they're having fun with it, man. I mean, that's all football is about. I love watching players out there having fun, and that's certainly what they're doing. I mean, and if they can have fun ruining other teams' playoff hopes, then they're gonna do just that. So man, shout out to those guys for sure.
Yeah, I think for me, my biggest takeaways and observations are a few things. Frisco, that's actually a really good point. I didn't even think about that. They have not played from behind very
Hmm.
often, but it was just the fact that, like, I say that they have no business losing that game, and you could say that about any team that has like a lead or a winning record against a team with a losing record, that ends up losing. But still, you watch this game, the first possession that Quad City has, Frisco was up 3 or 7 to nothing, like it was a one-score game. They throw an interception, and then
Hmm.
Frisco goes up 2 scores. It was 10 to nothing, and it's just like that against the team like that you can't do it and expect to win. And so for
Oh,
them
no, for
to
sure.
not only get a stop, but then a turnover, turn that into points, and then take a 7 point lead going into the half, and then coming out and doing a ridiculously amazing kick return by Harrington, which he's done that a lot. So for them to get that and then have Frisco answer right back, so it's not a two-score game, it's right back to a one-score, was just really crazy to watch these events unfold. And so, yeah, I don't think Frisco is used to playing chasing points. And so for
Right.
them, all they needed to do was get a stop, and they couldn't. And so I think, props to Quad City for sure, for doing that with two quarterbacks and being able to swing things like that. But Frisco, hopefully this was more or less like a wake up call for them at this point in the season.
Hmm.
Like, hey, if you're going to be in a position where you got to chase points, like you need to get a stop. And
Yeah.
and so that's probably a big observation there. Arizona, I feel like if they get into the postseason, it's because they are going to fall like ass backwards into the postseason. Because with Vegas being on a 3 game losing skid, and Naz didn't play, they were on a bye week. But then to
Hmm.
beat San Diego and to have San Antonio win that close against Duke City, it's just like, what is happening here? Like, you guys have,
Hey.
this powerhouse of a conference, and now you pick the time to keep it close or go on losing
Hmm.
streaks or miss field goals and just basically serve it up to teams on a silver platter. It's unbelievable to me. So those are the big takeaways, and that is our week 13 recap. So, like I said, very entertaining week. 6 of 7 were one-score games. Bay Area, very much the team to beat right now. They are the standard. And then kickers, you either loved them or hated them, for very different reasons that week. But give them some love. Hug a kicker this week. That's your assignment, Fan Nation. Hug a kicker if you see one, and that will bring us to our interview portion of the show. One of our favorites. That's right. We got a returner to the Fan Show, and he's coming up right now. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us for our interview portion of episode 491, a man who's no stranger to the Fan Show, one of our absolute favorites. He is the highlight reel known as Keyvan Stud Rudd. Rudd, welcome. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. Glad to finally make it. I've been seeing a lot of people on the show, and I was wondering when I was gonna get my invite. So I'm thankful I finally made it, fellas.
Well, we do got to
Sure.
spread the love around a little bit. There's been we had a streak of first timers here, which was a crazy realization for me because the show's been going for like 9 years, and it seems like we had a pretty good Rolodex of contacts to go to, like you guys. But some of you all have retired. Not everybody stayed retired, but have moved on to other things or other leagues, and so we welcome some new faces. But we've always got time and room for Mr. Stud Rudd. He's the man who was the first ever #1 play on Fan Show Top 10 Plays, and there's the ball
Mhm.
back there to prove it. But let's go ahead and get down to business. We talked last week. Me and Malk broke down the remaining schedules for 3 teams from each conference, the West and the East. And in the East, obviously, there's probably going to be 2 playoff spots up for grabs, not just one like the West. And so we're looking at right now, Mass has #3, and then you guys have #4. And Tulsa was kind of in there, but this loss to Jax really kind of screwed things up. But anyway, you guys get a big win against Frisco, but this has been kind of an uncharacteristic year for you as a veteran. Like, what can you tell us that's made this year both, exciting but yet challenging at the same time?
Uh, Definitely a mixture between rookie and vets. I believe we have, off the top of my head, I'm thinking I'm thinking true vets. Joe Crawl crept in that vet spot, but this is his third year, so I'm thinking of guys 4, 5, 6 years in. Myself, Duncan, I believe D-Jack should be in that conversation as well. Swan's up there too, but he's kind of in that Crawl situation. They've got about 3 years, so they're kind of a vet, but not like a super vet, if you want to put it. Super vet. It's a guy that missed the call tonight. That guy's been roaming around since I was still in college. But no, shout out to Claude. Been number love there. But I think the most interesting thing is just that mixture. You got a lot of guys that are coming from outdoor that are very attached to the game. Then they get here, and it's a completely different ball game. I would like to say we have a very good team chemistry. Guys get along. Practice is fun. It's guys are interacting. Vets are looking out for the young guys. Young guys are looking to the vets for any type of advice. But season wise, I think this is other than I want to say 2022 is a lot of new faces, a lot of guys that are getting acclimated to the game. It's probably been our biggest challenge.
Well, and you mentioned the new faces, and some of those new faces have been at the quarterback position. And I say faces because it seems like you guys are kind of doing this, riding the hot hand week to week, or maybe even drive to drive. But you guys have always had a really good offense. However, it's been kind of spearheaded by the quarterback play of E.J. Hilliard. And there's never an easy passing of the torch. I mean, we saw it in New England when Brady left. You just don't fill that kind of role. And E.J. was very much that for you guys. But obviously, you're there, Harrington. You guys got Vander, who's been an electric player on that offense. But for you guys as pass catchers and playmakers, you have to develop a chemistry, a relationship with the guys throwing you the ball. So
Mhm.
what's that aspect of your guys' season been like, and what kind of voice have you been in coach's ear, if you have been, I mean, as one of the leaders on the team?
I would say I'm more so in the quarterback's ear, just trying to get them to understand certain reads and just be themselves. I know at times it can get frustrating with how our season's been, where coach is expecting you to do one thing, but Judd was in the CFL, so he's been around, he's known what to do, so he's trying to think of that maybe, and then get to arena, and then try to just what Coach Ross is doing because he's got a big arm. He definitely has an outdoor arm. So just in his ear on, hey, this game's quicker. You maybe don't need to put as much juice on it. So, just certain things like that. Just being in their ear, talking to them. Even though the season has been how it's been, and we've got a quarterback carousel going on between the two, just staying positive. There's no need for me to get overly concerned or disruptive in a way that can get in the way of their mindset and their game. You think of football, the first thing you think of is who is the quarterback. So I want to stay in their ear, just trying to be a helpful hand, as best as I can. So I think it's just the best to keep it simple with those guys and just let them know that we're there for them.
Good take on that. And Malk, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you. What do you have for our guest, Mr. Stud Rudd?
Yeah, man, I got a couple questions that I think everybody wants answers to, really. Rudd, like Rich said, no, we're definitely glad to have you on the show, man. Definitely a fan of your play, and I'm looking forward to a lot more big plays, some more Sports Center type
Yeah,
plays in the
yeah.
future for sure. Um, you said one thing that kind of stuck out to me, especially. You said, with the new faces and rookies and stuff like that, you kind of stay in their ear and like kind of let them know how things need to be done as one of the pass catchers on the team. And as one of the premier players, I got to know, how do you kind of balance playing at a high level while also kind of teaching those guys how it's supposed to be done?
This is, I want to say, roughly about the first time I've been in this position in my career.
Yeah.
Wow.
EJ's been my quarterback since I started, and then obviously during the COVID year, I bounced around at Frisco, then I went to Naz, and then I ended up in Spokane. And then this year, not having that, this is where it really shows that you have to. It forces you to be there for those quarterbacks, especially because they're rookies, to
Mm-hmm.
understand the game. And this year, personally, is probably the lowest statistical season that I've had so far. But I see that as an outlook as, hey, I'm not going to be already knowing that going into the season. Hey, this is not the year to be hoorah and hooting and hollering about my stats. If there's a game I'm not getting the catches, whatever. I got to be in the quarterback's here to let them know, hey, you're staying solid. You're doing good. I see this. I see that. Because sometimes you have that with vets. Guys that are, I'm not getting my numbers. I'm going somewhere else. Or they're pouting because they're not, having that type of season that they're known to have. I've seen that from the start. So it's like, if there's games I'm not really getting my numbers, regardless, I've always been this type of person. This is where I really have to exceed to help them out, just to kind of be in their ear. I want to make sure that I'm leading by example when it comes to those things.
I like it, man. I like it for sure. And that's the kind of vet that you want on a team for sure. I also had to say, when I want to say in 2022, I was in Duke City playing over there and with the Gladiators, and things didn't go my way initially. I ended up getting cut from the team. Ended up back over there in a couple of weeks, but that's a story for another time. But when I was kind of searching for somewhere to go, Rich kind of mentioned that Quad City, how great you guys fan base are. It's an amazing place to be. I know a large part of you guys' game is based on, giving the fans what you guys feel like they deserve after, being so loyal and being just staying with you guys through like the ups and downs. Is there any type of pressure to play for them, or do you guys just like block out the outside noise and just, do what's on the schedule?
Well, side note, I know Rich was telling you how great it was because he really was supposed to end up here, but I ain't gonna say nothing. That's a conversation for a different time. That's a conversation for a different time. But no, I mean, me personally, absolute no pressure. I'm from here. Long story short, was the ball boy back when I was in high school watching the game, been around, made the team, make the story and whatnot. So I feel like it's no pressure. And then I kind of want to make sure I let the guys know, if you can't handle that type of fans talking on the Facebook or Twitter, or you hear rumblings at the watch parties and it gets back to you, you're not going to survive at the next level. Now there's millions of people talking about you, not just a fan group with 400 people in it. This is thousands, hundreds, thousands to millions. You're not going to survive. Sure. So, like I've always said, I feel like we have the best fan base, and they've been loyal to the soil from day one. So I like to tell the guys, be realistic. Like, if you had a bad game, let's say if a guy says, man, I had a bad game personally and blah, 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 and a fan happened to say something on the Facebook, look at it realistically. If they said, well, I feel like this DB needs some work. Do you need some work? Like, be realistic about the situation before trying to attack that person or feel like you got to attack everybody because like two people said something about you. It's always love for the Quad City fans, and I'll forever be grateful for them.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. And I'm glad you said the thing about the Facebook groups, because that's actually what I was talking about specifically too, man.
It's so crazy that you might have to bleep it out, but like when fans get to talking shit and guys are literally invested in finding every comment and feeling like they maybe have to respond, or they got to like prove themselves, like, how do I say it? Like, specifically prove themselves to like two fans. And it's just like, bro.
And so the last one I got for you, I remember coming into this league, and it was just, there was such a Midwest presence. It was like always a mad dash, Sioux Falls, Iowa, Green Bay, as far as, getting to that postseason and stuff. And then you guys came in and that just added to the mix. But now there's markets in Jax, there's markets in Southern California, there's 3 in Arizona now, all these destination teams. And so you guys obviously had your run to the championship, a phenomenal season a few seasons ago. Iowa got theirs 2018. So I know that they're a conference opponent, a rival of yours, but is it a feel-good moment still to see a Green Bay succeed like they have, knowing that there's still that presence from the Midwest and from those old school teams?
Absolutely not. I will not give Green Bay their credit. Come on, Rich, what you trying to set me up, man? Nah, man. Steamwheeler Nation, stop playing. We ain't talking about Green Bay on here. But nah, man, shout out to Roberson. We always have a good conversation. Drop my pen. We always have a good conversation when he comes down. Definitely respect him. And again, we've played him so many times. I tell guys how it's usually going to go with Roberson. It's going to be a tight game, or one of us is going to get blown out because he's he has that team running like a well-oiled machine. But it's definitely good to see that. I don't think Green Bay's been to the playoffs since 2018 or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
it's been
been
a
a
while.
minute. I just seen it somewhere. So it's definitely great for the Eastern Conference to have a team like that that's been having those borderline seasons, kind of doing like this, and now it's just like boom, they're beating Frisco by 30 points. Who's seen that coming? Y'all didn't. I seen the votes. Y'all definitely didn't have him winning that game. So like they excuse me, they're definitely operating on all cylinders. It's good to see that. Shout out to the Eastern Conference. I love it out here. Shout out to Roberson. He's doing a great job up in Green Bay. But they're gonna have to see us in a couple weeks. So I ain't gonna give him too much credit. But always love for Coach Roberson and what he's doing.
Man, we were about 3 seconds from having great bulletin board material for Green Bay from
Man, put it
from
out there, man. And shout out to Joey B. I got Joey B on my mixtape, on my highlight tape a couple years ago, and I didn't know who he was at first, and I got him on there. So shout out to Joey B. He do a good job up there too of what he's doing in Green Bay. Joe Blizzy. That's what I call him.
But also, I'm learning that apparently nobody keeps receipts like Rudd does, man. He's recalling just about everything that's happened this season that we've done here, Mal.
Sure.
Like, wow.
That's another station of no relation. Do not play with me. I have all the receipts. Don't. I'm not the one. I think everybody knows that around here. Hey, Rudd, I heard. Oh, okay. Hold on. Give me about 2 seconds, and I'll be able to find something. So, nah, man. It's just good to have, especially because I want to definitely give people their credit. I give credit where it's due. Not trying to steal the light from anybody, but just making sure the right people are getting their recognition, because there's a lot of guys, Rich yourself included, that have put many, many, many days, many, many moons, as my dad would say, into your profession, into your passion. Mm-hmm. And then there's things that can happen where it's almost like a slap in the face, and then you got to redirect. And then that redirects you. And then it feels like you want to give up. But there's people that watch from a distance that may not check in every day, but they're at least watching, and they know how much work you're putting in. Me, for example, Rich, watching you, even when you start coming around, I'm like, cool, man. He's just, a fan that brings the belt and he does the fan show highlights. That's cool. But then watching you do more, just even looking at your background, and when you went to Omaha, and then you were doing things in the CIF, and then, just having your own platform now, and then holding classes to help people get to where you're at and tell your story. That's amazing to see. So it's always good to see people doing that. So you always want to give them their credit to make them feel appreciated. That's what keeps it going, because not a lot of people know about the IFL. So guys like Rich, Malcolm, you guys putting this out there is good. It's good for the league. Guys need to be shown some love. I know we're not the NFL. We don't have billions of people kind of looking after us, but it starts with you guys getting this type of stuff up and running. That makes guys feel good. So, the vets like myself that usually get a lot of shine. No. Get those new guys first. Let them know that people are watching them and it feels good and they want to be a part of a league like this. So.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words, Rudd. I really do appreciate it. I know Malk, he's getting this whole thing figured out as co-host, but he's been enjoying this aspect of the whole thing and talking with players. It's nice to have a guy that's been in it. I mean, my career extends to and ends at middle school, but I've never lost my love for football. So, it's good to have a guy that actually knows what it's like to suit up and get out there in the indoor world like Malk, and he's been a great addition. So we're happy that you guys still enjoy the product. Rudd's Receipts, new segment coming to the Fan Show soon.
Oh, yeah. Just like that picture in the background right there, Rich, that you got. But yeah, that's them receipts.
Hey, man, we know that it's been not the most ideal season for you guys, but still 500, and that's going to be the worst it gets for you guys. So above and beyond to infinity and whatever, you guys just keep it rolling, man. That's the Steamwheeler way, and we wish you the best of luck the rest of the season. Obviously, safe travels for your remaining road games, but lock up that seed, man, and go and get it. Make a deep run or even get back to the ship, because we'd love to see it. I think you guys got all the tools there.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. Finally, Road Receipts, Volume 1, whenever y'all ready. I always got it. So dig on Twitter or Facebook, whatever y'all want to know, come holla at me.
All right,
For
so
sure.
one more time, we're going to thank Keyvan Stud Rudd, the human highlight reel playmaker, and does some hurdling in his free time against the opposing team, as you see the poster over my right shoulder there. But man, it was the first ever #1 play, and he's #1 in our hearts. So thank you so much, Rudd, and best of luck the rest of the season. We'll talk to you a little bit down the road.
All right, appreciate it, fellas.
All right, and one more big thank you to Stud Rudd for joining us here on the Fan Show. You never know where an interview is going to go once it starts, but I think Malk and I both agree that whenever there's somebody like Rudd on the other side of the Zoom window, we know that we're in for some entertainment. So Rudd's
Oh
Receipts,
yeah,
that
for
sounds like a
sure.
great segment. I'm excited. So
I like it. I like it.
that will segue us into our pick'em for week number 14. Yes, I did win the pick'em once again between Malk and I. We each got one right as far as the two that we were different on, but when it came to points, man, I couldn't have picked a better one. Bay Area just stomping the crap out of
Damn.
Tucson, man. That was bad. That was just wow. Okay, so while Vegas is in a losing skid, Bay Area is just like, okay, like we'll take it from here. So we've got a punishment to dish out after this, but first, let's go ahead and get these picks out of the way. We start Friday, so not a super Saturday like that last week. Friday brings us an interesting matchup. Both coming off wins, but one is on a 5-game winning streak, and the other might finish with 5 wins all season. It is the Jacksonville Sharks visiting the Green Bay Blizzard. Malk, I'll go ahead and let you kick things off this week. Tell me who you like in this one, since you've been kind of on a Sharks high lately.
And that's true. I wish I could say I'm gonna keep it going, but I don't think Jacksonville is gonna have that same that same luck they had against Tulsa this past weekend, man. Um, Green Bay has been playing really good. I mean, and although Max Myler had a kind of uncharacteristic week, he still pulled out a victory. So I think they'll have the same luck this week. I'm taking Green Bay.
Yeah, I like Green Bay to keep it going. However, trap game, are we at that point in the season? Like, could this I
Very
don't know,
well could
maybe.
be.
I don't think there's as many trap game scenarios in the IFL, like or at the indoor level. I just don't. They do exist, but
Mm,
it's not quite as common as what you see at the NFL level. So I will go with Green Bay as well. I have no reason to pick against them. They are the hot hand as far as teams in the league go right now. They have the
100%.
longest winning streak of any team in the league right now. So props to
Mm,
them. I think they keep it going in front of their home crowd. Takes us to Saturday now. So that's your lone Friday game. Saturday begins with the San Antonio Gunslingers and the Massachusetts Pirates. So this is the second game of the 3 that I said San Antonio needed to win in order to have a pretty clear path to the 4 seed in the West. And Mass coming off a loss. Now, Benefield was hurt, but I believe they said that he should be back for this game. However,
mm,
Mass is now playing a team that they haven't played many times before, which is a team at 500, right? It's either been teams with
mm.
losing records or winning records. So how will they do against a team that's neither? That is the question. I'm still going to go with San Antonio. I think even a 75% Castronova on the road is still better than whoever they've got this week for Mass. Even 100% Benefield, the dude just balls out. And I know it was way closer than anybody would have liked against Duke
Mm.
City, but they still found a way to win. And that's what I think is important at this point in the season, is that, even if it's ugly, even if it's sloppy, finding a way to win is key. And if they want to keep pace with the rest of the people in the hunt for postseason at this point in the season in the West, then they got to get this one. So I like San Antonio.
I like San Antonio as well. I'll take them in this one. The only red flag I would say in this one is I gotta look back at last week, man. I mean, just I know you said that. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be a super convincing win. It's a W is a W for sure. But it just kind of raised some concern thinking about how they kind of struggled and almost lost to Duke City, but all the same, San Antonio is definitely playing some good football, offense and defense. You can't deny catching over, making a run, a pretty strong run for the MVP. And also on defense, I got to shout out my guy Ricky Wyatt. Been doing great things. It's getting better week by week, really. Playing some pretty hard nosed football over there. That Coach Minaj brand of football.
All right, so we both like San Antonio to get another win and put themselves one game closer to a postseason berth. They got to watch out for Arizona and San Diego. But
Hmm.
that brings us to the next Saturday game, which this one I think is going to be the real question mark of the week, and that is Quad City on the road to take on Iowa. So Iowa coming off of a bye, but Quad City has beat Iowa before. However, Quad City, it seems to be back and forth, like almost literally. And then games that you think that they have no business winning, they end up winning. They beat Mass at one point in the season. They just beat Frisco. They've beaten Sioux Falls and they've beat Iowa, but they've lost to the likes of Green Bay and other teams. And it's just like I can't make heads or tails of this team yet. So, Malk, we'll start with you. Who do you like in this one?
I say this with some reservations, but I'm taking Quad City for sure. I've seen some really good football and I've seen some bad football from them, but overall, I think their good football prevails, especially against Iowa.
Yeah, I like Quad City as well. I think King is supposed to be back for Iowa, so we will keep an eye on that situation as far as quarterback goes. But
Mhm.
Quad City, this will be a tough one for them, but it's definitely one that they need to win just because if you win this, you're officially above 500, right? And that's where
Yeah.
you need to be heading into, okay, we've got potentially two playoff spots up for grabs as far as the four that are going to represent the East. And
Hmm.
with Tulsa taking that loss to Jax, it's like green light go. That's
Yeah.
got to be the mentality for Quad City. And that will bring us to the next Saturday game. And this one is going to be my interesting game of the week because we have a Vegas Nighthawks on a 3-game losing streak going into Duke City to take on the Gladiators, who have won
Hmm.
a game and then they lose by 1 point to a team like San Antonio. So, Malk, this one, oh man, 3 weeks ago, this wouldn't have been a question mark. It really
Not at
wouldn't have. But
all.
now I have like my reservations about it. I'm going to go with Vegas, but I'm not going in with confidence. I mean, it's their playoff spot to lose at this point, which is crazy to
Hmm.
think. But Duke City, I think could really give them a run for their money. And like I said, there's not going to be any surprises for me. If Vegas wins, it's because they finally snapped out of it and got it together. But if Duke City wins, then I think that's just a testament to where we are in the season.
I definitely wish Duke City would have started catching fire a little sooner because it would have been pretty cool to see them in that playoff contention as well. But all the same, I do think at this point in the season they are kind of gelling a bit more as a team, even though they're still having some turmoil at quarterback. The defense is pretty solid. So I'm gonna go out on a limb, Rich. I'm gonna say Duke City taking it home, man. I don't think it was any coincidence that they did have as much success as they did against San Antonio. Duke City, I'm taking them.
All right, so we have a difference of opinion. I like Vegas. Malk, of course, is gonna be. I don't know if it's a homer at this point or what. He's going with his squad. Okay, he's going with the
Mhm.
Gladiators to get that win. So our next Saturday game, this one is either going to be really good or really bad. And it is
Yeah.
Sioux Falls, the Storm taking on the Tulsa Oilers. What is crazy to me is that both teams have 3 wins right now, and we're at
Mhm.
week 14. Week 5, they couldn't have been more opposite. There was a point in the season where Sioux Falls was winless and
Mhm.
Tulsa had its 3 wins, and now they have the same essentially the same record in week 14. That is crazy. So, Malk, we'll start with you. Who do you like in this one?
I'm taking Tulsa in this one, man.
Wow. A rare Tulsa
Yeah.
pick from Malk.
You know my guys over there, so they'll hate me if I didn't pick them this time. But nah, yeah, they definitely understand where they stand right now as well, and I feel like the opposite of what I said about Vegas. They're not playing to not lose. They know that they need wins, and they're desperate for them right now. You know, a cornered animal is a dangerous thing to fight against. So I mean, I think they're at that point right now where they're desperate for their wins. They know that they need some things to go in their favor in order to even sniff the postseason. So you know, they're not playing around. I think they're gonna take it to them.
Yeah, and I already cashed in my one Sioux Falls pick this season, so I'm going to go with Tulsa as well. I love you, Claude,
Oh
but
man.
you know how it is. So that brings us to the next Saturday game. Frisco, the Fighters, coming off a rare loss, only three this season, but this one to the Quad City Steamwheelers. They will go on the road again to take on the what do you say about them? The Tucson Sugar Skulls, who two wins this season, and when they get beat, like it's bad in all kinds of ways. Whether it's a late field goal or a 2 point conversion, or they just get thumped. This is a tough one. I'm gonna go with Frisco just because I think that loss was a rare one. You and I have talked
Yeah.
about it, at great lengths on this episode that they're just not used to being in that kind of situation. And I don't see
Mm,
Tucson putting them in that situation again. So I will go with Frisco.
I agree. I agree, Rich, for sure. Despite all the talent that Tucson does have over there, that being Malik Mitchell, Mike Jones, Sap Lynch as well. It's just it's a shame that they can't put it together, and at least for all four quarters. We've seen all of those guys, make big plays in their own respect, but when it comes to just gelling as a team and playing a 4 quarter game. I don't think we've seen it yet. And Frisco, on the other hand, has done that several times. Like you said, despite their loss this past weekend, they're easily one of the best teams in the IFL. So, you know, Frisco, I don't think it's a question.
We have the Northern Arizona Wranglers fresh off of a bye week taking on the Arizona Rattlers in
Mm.
Arizona, who just narrowly escaped and survived the San Diego Strike Force. You and I both know who I'm going to pick in this one. I think Naz has a rare opening with Vegas's losing streak. They are no longer the projected 3 seed. They could be a 2 if
Hmm.
they kick it up a notch. And I think that they start that on the road against Arizona. This will be kind of a revenge game for them from week number one. Two very different teams once again since week one.
I think that's actually it couldn't be more true about Arizona for sure. They seem to be putting it together how they need to and how we've all expected them to at this point. So I'm gonna disagree with you on this one. I'm gonna say the Rattlers are taking home. I know that's burning you up inside, but and I think like we mentioned earlier in the episode, Kevin Guy understands where they are as far as the seedings right now, and if they wanna make it to the postseason, they can't really afford to lose this game. So I think that I think that he realizes that, the team realizes that, the fans realize that, and it's gonna be in their favor this week.
All right, so Malk likes the Rattlers. I like the
Mm,
Wranglers. This will be another game that could have massive implications in the four playoff spots for the Western
mm,
Conference, or at least the one that we believe was up for grabs. There could be two, for all we know, after this week that are up for grabs, depending on some
yeah, for
outcomes.
sure.
And that'll bring us to our week 14 finale. This one, I hope, does not disappoint because up to this point, it has not disappointed. It is the San Diego Strike Force taking on the Bay Area Panthers, the standard,
Mm,
the defending, the reigning champions of the IFL, and San Diego needs this win. I'm not saying that they're out of the picture if they lose, but this is a win that, not just to get into the postseason, but once you're there, you're probably going to play this team, whether it's the
mm,
semifinals or whatever, this is a team that you will have to hang with if you want to get to the championship. So for them, they really need to shake off that ugly loss to Arizona. Let's see here. I'm going to go with Bay Area just
Mm.
because, as much as I think San Diego is a very, very well put together team, like Bay Area had no reason to thump Tucson the way that they did last week, but they did it. And it's as if they were sending a message to the rest of the league like, okay, we weren't the last remaining undefeated team, but we're still the reigning champs, and the road to the championship, as of right now, goes through us. So I think they keep it going. It'll be a close game though, and it could very well come down to special teams again.
Yeah, yeah, I can see it for sure. Before I give you my pick, I just want to reiterate, like you said, how fickle this game is for kickers.
Hmm.
Like you said earlier in the show, definitely give a kicker a extra hug too, because I mean, I would say that that's probably the most emotionally draining and taxing position to play in this league. Honestly, I mean, um, while it's one of the most important and valuable positions in the IFL, but I agree with you. I think Bay Area is going to take this one home. Bay Area is just a little better. I think so. I mean, they're just, and not even a little better. They're a lot better. They're playing at that championship level right now. A lot of teams aren't. So that's going to be a challenge for sure for San Diego. One that I don't think they can live up to.
All right, so we both like Bay Area, and that means that we're different on two again. So it'll come down to
Mhm.
points, and whoever's win was better or loss was worse for our pick the punishment winner. Which, man, I am feeling this hot streak that I'm on. I'm liking it. So now I get to
Uh,
pick Malcolm's punishment. We are going to put in social media then four options as far as songs to pick from to make Malk go do karaoke at. And he'll record that and post that to social. So we'll give you options like probably something from Britney Spears, the Backstreet
uh,
Boys, NSYNC, or maybe Christina Aguilera. I could see Malk doing a Mean Genie in a bottle. So we will have a decision well enough in time for him
oh
to do a little
man,
rehearsal if he needs to, and then hit
Rizzo.
it up Friday. And I'm going to tell your
Uh,
brother right now that he needs to go and be with you for that because I'm sure he won't pass up on an opportunity to see you karaoke something that's for white people from the 90s, man.
oh yeah, nah, that video is going in the archives for sure.
All right, so there you have it. Malk's punishment. Watch for that post and cast your votes. We'll have four great options. If you have any suggestions, you're welcome to hit us up with those also. But I thought the four that I named off were some pretty good go-tos. Who know? You could whip the bar into a frenzy and have like some. You have to beat the white women off with a stick. It's
Uh,
like. Oh, all
man,
right. He'll get back on track soon enough, folks. I'm sure he's
for sure.
just hanging on to a punishment from me and just waiting, just counting down the
Oh
days.
yeah, I'm just waiting, man. I'm waiting. It's just building up at this point.
All right, folks. Well,
Man.
that is another exciting episode of the Fan Show. Don't forget, you can watch us, see us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel every Wednesday, and then you can hear us in podcast form on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Spreaker.com. And we are on live365.com on Express Radio every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So that'll do it for episode 491. So for Father Malcolm McCoy, I'm the team man, Richard Teeman. This has been the Fan Show, and we will see you next time.